Hi, I'm Barry Sahajian. Today I'm talking about pentatonic scales for bass. Now there's a few things you must understand about pentatonic scales playing for bass as opposed to guitar. Everyone has seen guitar players rip across the neck with all these pentatonic scales, but the difference between a bass player playing pentatonic scales and a guitar player playing pentatonic scales, the bass is underneath the harmony and the guitar is on top of the harmony. So the guitar can extend on the harmonies that are existing. The bass player still has to adhere to the root, the third, the fifth, and in a pentatonic scale you have a sixth and a second, 2 or a 9. So this is what I want to concentrate. So I want to show you how to be creative within those limitations, because you can't just, you know, if you play a flat third under a major chord, that doesn't sound so good, but if a guitar player plays it, it sounds perfect. We're going to start out with the scale shapes. You have to know that and a little bit of the technique and the 5 sections. It's a pentatonic scale, which is 5, so there's 5 sections. Section 1 from the root, section 2 from the second, section 3 from the third, section 4 from the fifth, and section 5 is the sixth. Another way that is very important too is fills. It has to match the harmony, and the notes you play have to be inside the chords, and yet you want it to be creative and rhythmical, and we're going to look at all of these things. I would also like to show you how to solo. Soloing, you don't have those limitations anymore technically, because you are now playing pretty much by yourself without any harmony, but then there is a way to play with the harmony. A guitar player is playing the chords and you're playing a solo. So at that point you still have to think about how the chord tones fit with the bass line. So if you have a major scale and you take away the major 7th and the 4th degree of that major scale, you wind up having 5 tones, which is a pentatonic scale. When you do that, you have eliminated any of the half-step intervals from that scale, as long as you ascend and descend consecutively. So in other words, what you have left over is 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. And there's only 2 intervals when you do this consecutively. You either have a whole step interval or a minor third interval. And when I went up that scale in the beginning, that's all I was playing. So from the 1st degree, we have whole step, minor third, minor third. So we take our first shape, which looks like this, and we play 4 notes on the first 2 strings and 4 notes on the second 2 strings, which gives you 8 eighth notes, which is a perfect full measure. Now we go up to the 2nd degree and we're going to include only those 2 intervals, whole step and minor third, but it will happen in a different order. In this one, from the 2nd degree, it is whole step, whole step, whole step. So we play the first 4 notes, and then we play the second 4 notes from the next 2 strings up. We get this. We play from the octave descending. Play them together. So you might ask yourself, where can I use all these lines? You're investing time in learning all these shapes, 5 different modes of the C major pentatonic. It really depends on your knowledge of harmony, which may be on different levels. You may be a more advanced level bass player or very beginning. So I'm going to explain this for a very beginning bass player, which will also benefit the advanced bass player too, I'm sure, in some spots. So the C major pentatonic in all the 5 modes I'm explaining on this tutorial will all work with the C major triad. It will also work famously for a C 7th. The 3rd degree, you have minor third again, and whole step. Right now I'm going to play another line. This line is going to have a backing track with drums and guitar so you can hear the harmony and how the notes relate to it. This line will be in two parts. The first part will be based on the first section of the pentatonic scale and it repeats. The second part will be the fill, which is based on the third section of the pentatonic scale, starting from E. On the fifth degree, you have whole step, minor third. We are starting from the fifth degree, or the G. I'm going to use a little bit of a different rhythm to make it a little more interesting, and it goes a little like this. So what we're playing is we're putting a rest, two eighth notes rest in different spots. Once again, let's do it descending from the octave. And on the sixth degree, you have minor third, whole step, whole step. This will be the fifth section of the major pentatonic scale, which would be the same as the minor pentatonic scale. But I'd rather look at it, since we started out as a major pentatonic scale, this is the fifth section of the major pentatonic scale, which is an A minor. It looks like this. Now, I did a couple of things to make it easier to develop it or use it right away, and let me explain. The first thing I did was the fingering. I used basically the first and the third finger, first and the ring finger, except for the second note. Now, it's easy to play fast with those two fingers, and most people from the beginning, including myself, you were using those two fingers because it was easy, and it's still easy. Even though I have a lot of history, and I find it easier to play fast. The second thing I did was that is a two-measure phrase. So what I did was end the two-measure phrase on the second measure, fourth beat, with one whole beat, and that time you can shift down a whole bunch of positions. Here's another one. This one uses triplets, easy, and you're only using two fingers. If you can rip this one down, a good line to show off or whatever you want to do with it, or build with it. Once again, it ends on the fourth beat. You have that full beat to move somewhere else, put in other ideas. And about the fingering, I have an alternate fingering that might help you out. When you play this, you have to move a shape. So you have to do something about that. I have two different ways to negotiate that. There's my shift. And the way I would do it, with a little bit more of an advanced fingering would be what I do is stretch, so it appears that I'm really not moving like the shift. I don't like that big movement, so I do this. So what I do is open my hand up a little bit instead of I don't like that. This one has better economy of motion. Play a little little faster, I think, without that hesitation. Sometimes that slide can kind of mess the line up and make it slightly out of time. That slide, it takes a lot of effort. I don't like doing it, you know, but if it's the only way you can negotiate it and you want to play that line, go for it. Wow. Once again on this line, I left a full beat at the end of the second measure so you could move on to something else. And that way you can practice this and then try putting your own lick in there and going back and forth and developing it into a solo.